The great council chamber floated in space above Concordia Prime. Inside, representatives from 47 different species sat in their designated seats. The chamber was built to accommodate everyone, from the small flying Krillians to the massive aquatic Pelorians who needed water tanks to survive. Captain Daniel Hayes stood in the center of the chamber. Beside him, Ambassador Kevin Price waited quietly. Behind them, a holographic display showed data that human ships had collected over the past year. The data was not good. Daniel pressed a button on his wrist device. The display changed to show a sector of space far beyond the galaxy's edge. Red dots appeared on the map, hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Each dot represented a ship, but these were not normal ships. Honorable Council members, Kevin began, his voice calm and steady. 6 months ago, our deep space monitoring stations detected movement beyond the galactic rim. We sent scout ships to investigate. The display changed again. This time it showed images captured by human scouts. The images made several council members shift uncomfortably in their seats. The ships in the images looked organic, like they were grown instead of built. They were dark and twisted, covered in what looked like teeth and claws. We call them the devourers, Daniel said. They are a hive mind species. They consume everything biological in their path. Planets, ships, people, everything. A clicking sound filled the chamber. Councillor Vexthal, the Zentari representative, leaned forward. His insect-like body gleamed under the chamber lights. More human fear-mongering, he said, his translator turning his clicks into words. You Deathworlders see threats everywhere. This is not fear-mongering, Kevin replied. This is fact. Our projections show they will reach council space in approximately 6 months. They are moving fast and they are heading directly toward us. High Speaker Mordan ruffled his feathers. The elderly Krillian was one of the most respected members of the council. When he spoke, others listened. I have heard these stories before, he said. Humans always want to prepare for war. You build weapons. You train soldiers. You create fear to justify your military expansion. Daniel felt frustration building in his chest, but he kept his face neutral. We are not creating fear. We are warning you about a real danger. Look at the data. Look at what these creatures did to the systems they already passed through. Nothing survives them. The display showed images of dead worlds, planets stripped of all life, space stations torn apart, the remains of ships floating in the void. Chancellor Theon's tank bubbled as he spoke. The Pelorian leader was known for his diplomatic skills. Captain Hayes, Ambassador Price, we appreciate your concerns. However, we must consider the possibility that you are misinterpreting this data. Perhaps these are natural phenomena. Perhaps these ships belong to a species that simply has a different appearance. We sent communication attempts, Daniel said, his voice harder now. They did not respond with words. They responded by destroying 3 of our scout ships. We barely got the data back before they were consumed. Consumed, Vexthal repeated, mockery clear in his tone. Such dramatic language. Tell me, Captain, how convenient is it that only humans have seen these so-called devourers? How convenient that you ask us to trust your data alone. You're welcome to send your own scouts, Kevin said. We will provide you with the coordinates. And walk into whatever trap you have prepared? High Speaker Mordan shook his head. No, I believe this is a scheme. Humans want to position themselves as protectors. You want to make us dependent on your military might. Around the chamber, other council members nodded. Some whispered to each other. Daniel could see that they had already made up their minds. They did not want to believe the warning. They wanted to believe that humans were the problem. Overseer Kryn, the Dulthak representative, finally spoke. His species came from volcanic worlds and valued strength above all else. Even if these devourers exist, he said, why should we fear them? The council has fleets. We have defenses. We do not need human protection. Your fleets are not prepared for this, Daniel said, trying to keep the desperation out of his voice. The devourers use biological weapons. They adapt to your tactics within hours. They do not negotiate. They do not retreat. They only consume. Enough, Vexthal said loudly. I move that we censure humanity for spreading panic and false information. Furthermore, I move that we demand humans dismantle their so-called defensive preparations. No species should be allowed to build such massive military forces in council space. I second the motion, High Speaker Mordan said immediately. Kevin looked at Daniel. The captain's jaw was tight, his hands clenched into fists, but Kevin gave a slight shake of his head. There was nothing more they could do here. The vote was quick. 42 species voted in favor of the censure. Only 5 voted against. The humans were ordered to dismantle their defensive fleet preparations within 30 days. They were ordered to stop spreading information about the devourers. They were ordered to submit to council oversight of all human military activities. Ambassador Kevin Price stood silently for a long moment. Then he nodded once. "Humanity will comply with the council's decision," he said quietly. Vexthal clicked in satisfaction. "Good. Perhaps now you warmongers will learn your place in civilized society." Daniel wanted to shout at them. He wanted to make them understand. But Kevin's hand on his shoulder stopped him. "We have given you our warning," Daniel said, his voice low and controlled. "The devourers will arrive in 6 months. When they do, you will understand that we were telling the truth. I hope you survive long enough to remember this moment." "Is that a threat?" High Speaker Mordan demanded. "No," Kevin said. "It is a statement of fact. We hope we are wrong. We hope the devourers change course. We hope you never have to face what we know is coming. But hope is not a strategy." The council session ended shortly after. As Daniel and Kevin walked out of the chamber, they could hear the other species celebrating. They had defeated the warmongers. They had put the aggressive humans in their place. In the human quarter of the station, Commander Lisa Grant was waiting for them. She looked at Kevin's face and understood immediately. "They did not listen," she said. "No," Kevin replied. "They did not." He pulled out a secure communication device and typed a message. The message was encrypted with the highest-level human codes. It would reach every human colony, every human station, every human ship in council space within minutes. The message contained only 2 words: Protocol Exodus. Lisa understood what those words meant. Every human understood what those words meant. It was the evacuation order they had hoped they would never need to use. "How long?" Daniel asked. "We can have all civilians out in 2 weeks, Lisa said. "Military and essential personnel in 4 weeks. Total withdrawal in 6 weeks, Kevin nodded. "Make it happen quietly, no announcements. No explanations. Just leave." As Lisa walked away to begin the evacuation, Daniel looked back at the council chamber. Through the transparent walls, he could see the other species still talking and laughing. "They will remember this day," Daniel said quietly. "Yes," Kevin agreed. "They will. The question is whether any of them will survive to do so." In the distance, far beyond the edge of the galaxy, the devourers continued their approach. They did not know about the council's decision. They did not care about politics or warnings. They only knew hunger, and they were coming. 3 weeks had passed since the council meeting. Ambassador Yelnara of the Solari walked through the market district of Council Station. Her people were gentle herbivores, known throughout the galaxy for their kindness and their skill with medicine. She enjoyed visiting the market, seeing the different species trading and talking together. But something was wrong today. Something was different. The human restaurant where she always ate lunch was closed. A sign on the door said it was closed permanently. Yelnara felt confused. The restaurant had been there for 20 years. The owner, a kind woman named Helen, had never mentioned closing. Yelnara walked further into the market. The human bookshop was also closed. The human clothing store was empty, its shelves bare. The human tea shop that sold those wonderful earth blends had a sign saying, "Thank you for your patronage." She went to the docking bay where human merchant ships usually traded. The bay was empty. No ships. No cargo. No traders. Where did they go? Yelnara asked a Zentari dock worker. The insectoid being clicked dismissively. "The humans are leaving. Good riddance. We do not need their kind here." Yelnara felt a chill run through her body. "All of them?" "All of them," the worker confirmed. "They are withdrawing from council space. Did you not hear? The council ordered them to dismantle their fleets. They are probably running away in shame." But that did not make sense to Yelnara. She had known humans for many years. They did not run away. They did not abandon their homes out of shame. Back at the Solari embassy, Yelnara tried to contact human officials. Every communication channel was automated. The messages all said the same thing. "Humanity thanks the Galactic Council for 3 centuries of cooperation. We are withdrawing from council space as requested. Please direct all future inquiries to the archives." In the council chambers, Councillor Vexthal was celebrating. "The humans are finally leaving," he announced to the other council members. "They know we have exposed their warmongering lies." High Speaker Mordan preened his feathers. "This proves we were correct. They invented the story about the devourers to gain power. Now that we called their bluff, they are retreating." Overseer Kryn was less certain. "They are leaving very quickly," he observed. "And they are taking everything. Human mining operations in the asteroid fields are abandoned. Human research stations are empty. They are even removing their automated satellites. Because they know we would seize their property as compensation for their lies," Vexthal said. "They are thieves as well as warmongers. But when Council security tried to take over the abandoned human facilities, they found every entrance locked, every system encrypted, automated defenses activated when anyone tried to force entry. The defenses did not kill, but they made it impossible to access anything humans had left behind." Yelnara went to the medical center where she worked. Dr. Amy Clark, a human physician, was one of the few humans still on the station. Amy was treating a group of young Solari children who had a rare genetic condition. Yelnara had been working with her on finding a cure. "Amy," Yelnara said quietly when she found her friend. "What is happening? Why is everyone leaving?" Amy looked tired. There were dark circles under her eyes. "We are complying with the Council's wishes," she said. "They told us to dismantle our defensive preparations. They told us we were not welcome, so we are leaving." "But the children," Yelnara protested. "We are so close to finding a treatment for their condition." Amy handed her a data chip. "Everything I know is on here. All my research, all my notes. You can continue the work without me." "Without you?" Yelnara felt panic rising in her chest. "You are leaving too?" "I am one of the last," Amy said. "My transport leaves tomorrow." "Where are you going?" "Home," Amy said simply. "Back to human space." That evening, Lieutenant Paul Sanders found Yelnara sitting alone in the empty human quarter. The intelligence officer was packing the last of his belongings. "You look sad," Paul said, sitting down beside her. "I do not understand," Yelnara said. "Why is this happening? Did we do something wrong?" Paul was quiet for a moment. "You personally? No. You have always been kind to humans, but the Council as a whole made a choice. They chose not to listen to our warning. They chose to see us as the problem." "The warning about the devourers?" "Yes. Do you truly believe they are coming?" Paul looked at her with serious eyes. "Ambassador Yelnara, I have seen the data. I have read the reports from our scouts. The devourers are real, and they are coming." Captain Hayes was not exaggerating when he said 6 months. Yelnara felt cold. "Then why are you leaving? Should you not stay and help us prepare?" "We tried to help," Paul said quietly. "The Council did not want our help. They called us warmongers and liars. They ordered us to dismantle our defenses, so we are complying. We are leaving Council space as requested." "But what will happen to us?" Paul reached into his bag and pulled out a small data chip. "These are coordinates. They will lead you to human space if you ever need to come. The route is long, but it is safe. If the devourers come, if things get bad, follow these coordinates. We will give you sanctuary." "You would help us? Even after how the Council treated you?" "The Council made their choice," Paul said. "But you are not the Council. You are our friend. We do not abandon our friends." Yelnara took the data chip with trembling hands. "How much time do we have?" "If Captain Hayes is correct, and he usually is, you have about 4 months before the devourers reach Council space." The next morning, Yelnara went to the docking bay to see Dr. Amy Clark leave. The last human transport ship was preparing for departure. Humans lined up to board, carrying bags and equipment. They moved quickly and efficiently, like they had practiced this many times. Amy hugged Yelnara goodbye. "Take care of yourself," she said. "Take care of your people." "Will I see you again?" Amy smiled sadly. "I hope so. I really do." As the transport ship pulled away from the station, Yelnara noticed something. More human ships were leaving from other docking bays, not just from Council Station, but from stations all across Council space. She could see them on the monitors. Dozens of ships, hundreds of ships, all heading in the same direction. Where are they all going? Someone asked. Back to human space, a Zentari official said, and good riddance. But Yelnara noticed something else. The human ships were not just leaving Council space. They were leaving in organized groups. Military escorts surrounded civilian transports. Everything was coordinated and planned. This was not a panicked retreat. This was an organized withdrawal. She went back to the empty human quarter. In Amy's old office, she found a handwritten note tucked under a medical scanner. The note was short. Forgive us for not trying harder to convince you. When the time comes, follow the stars towards Sol. We will be waiting. Yelnara looked at the note for a long time. Then she looked at the data chip Paul had given her. Then she looked up at the stars beyond the station's windows. Somewhere out there, beyond the edge of the galaxy, something was coming. Something the humans had tried to warn them about. Something the Council had refused to believe existed. And now the humans were gone. The station felt emptier without them. The markets were quieter. The medical center had fewer staff. Even the cafeteria served less variety of food. In the council chambers, Vexthal and Mordan celebrated their victory over the warmongers. But Yelnara could not shake the feeling that they had not won anything. They had lost something important, and they did not even realize it yet. She clutched the data chip tightly and whispered a prayer to the old gods of her people. She prayed that the council was right. She prayed that the devourers were just a human story. But deep in her heart, she feared that Captain Daniel Hayes had been telling the truth all along. And if he was, then the council had just made the worst mistake in galactic history. 4 months had passed since the humans left. Life in council space had returned to normal. The empty human quarters on Council Station had been reassigned to other species. The human facilities that could not be accessed were simply ignored. Most council members had forgotten about the warnings and the devourers, but High Speaker Mordan had not forgotten. Late at night, when he could not sleep, he sometimes wondered if the humans had been telling the truth. Then morning would come and he would dismiss the thoughts. The galaxy was peaceful. Nothing had changed. The humans had been wrong. Then the sensors detected something. A junior Krillian technician was monitoring the long-range detection grid when the alert came through. At first he thought it was a malfunction. The readings did not make sense. Objects were entering council space from beyond the rim. Hundreds of objects, maybe thousands. He reported it to his supervisor. The supervisor checked the data and immediately called High Speaker Mordan. Mordan arrived at the sensor station within minutes. He looked at the display and felt his blood turn cold. The objects were moving fast, very fast, and they were heading directly toward the nearest inhabited systems. What are they? Mordan asked. Unknown, the supervisor said, but their energy signatures matched the data the humans provided 4 months ago. Mordan's feathers went flat against his body. The devourers. Should we contact the humans? Mordan wanted to say yes. He wanted to beg the humans to come back and help them, but his pride stopped him. No, he said. Send a message to all council fleets. Tell them we have an unknown contact. Tell them to prepare for possible hostile action. The message went out across council space. Councillor Vexthal received it in his chambers. He immediately demanded more information. When he saw the sensor data, he tried to contact humanity through the old communication channels. The only response was an automated message. Humanity is no longer part of council affairs. This communication channel is closed. Vexthal tried again. Same message. He tried a dozen different channels. Everyone was closed. The humans had shut down all communication with council space. They planned this, Vexthal said to himself. They invented the devourers to make us look foolish, and now they are sending these ships to prove their point. But even as he said it, he did not truly believe it. The readings were too massive. The number of ships was too large. No species could fake something like this. The devourers reached the first colony world 3 days later. It was a Pelorian mining colony called Theta 7. 5,000 colonists lived there, extracting valuable minerals from the planet's crust. The colony sent out a standard greeting message when the unknown ships approached. The ships did not respond. Instead, they opened fire. The attack was brutal and fast. The devourers used weapons that seemed to be made of living tissue. They fired projectiles that ate through shields like acid. When the projectiles hit ships, they burrowed inside and consumed everything organic they found. The colony's defense platforms lasted less than an hour. The defending ships lasted even less time, and then the devourers landed on the planet itself. The last message from Theta 7 was a video transmission. It showed creatures pouring out of the devourer ships. The creatures looked like a nightmare mixture of different animals. They had too many legs, too many mouths, too many teeth. They moved like insects, but they were the size of ground vehicles. The transmission cut off with screaming. Chancellor Theon watched the video in horror. His tank bubbled rapidly, a sign of extreme distress. "Send every available ship to Theta 7, he ordered. "We must save the colonists." But when the Council fleet arrived at Theta 7 2 days later, there was nothing to save. The planet's surface was gray. All the plants were gone. All the animals were gone. The oceans were empty. Even the bacteria in the soil had been consumed. 5,000 Pelorians had simply ceased to exist. The fleet commander sent a message back to the Council. "The humans were right. The devourers are real, and they are exactly as dangerous as the humans said they would be." Over the next 2 weeks, the devourers attacked 6 more systems. Every attack followed the same pattern. They would arrive in overwhelming numbers. They would destroy all defenses. They would consume every living thing they could find. Then they would move to the next system. Council military forces tried to fight back. They sent their best fleets. They used their most advanced weapons. Nothing worked. The devourers adapted to every tactic within hours. If the Council used energy weapons, the devourers would grow shields that absorbed energy. If the Council used kinetic weapons, the devourers would harden their armor. Overseer Kryn led a Dulthak battle fleet to defend a colony world called Granite Hold. His people were warriors. They had never lost a major battle. They would not lose this one. The battle lasted 4 hours. The Dulthak fleet was destroyed. Kryn survived only because his ship's engines were damaged and he drifted away from the main battle. He watched from a distance as the devourers consumed his fleet, his people, and his pride. When he returned to Council Station, he looked like he had aged 100 years. "We cannot win," he said to the Council. "They are too many. They adapt too fast. We need help." "From who?" Vexthal demanded. "We have thrown everything at them." "From the humans," Kryn said quietly. The Council chamber fell silent. Everyone knew he was right, but no one wanted to admit it. High Speaker Mordan finally spoke. "I will not beg the warmongers for help. We can handle this ourselves." But they could not handle it themselves. More systems fell. More billions died. Refugee ships fled toward the galactic core, trying to escape the advancing devourers. But the devourers were faster. Ambassador Yelnara watched the disaster unfold from Council Station. Every day brought news of another fallen world. Every day brought more refugees with horror stories of what the devourers had done. She remembered Dr. Amy Clark's note. She remembered Lieutenant Paul Sanders' data chip. She remembered Captain Daniel Hayes' warning. The humans had known. They had known exactly what was coming. They had tried to warn the Council, and the Council had laughed at them. Yelnara made a decision. She gathered her staff and told them to prepare for evacuation. "We are leaving Council space," she said. "Where will we go?" Her assistant asked. "To the humans," Yelnara said. "They offered us sanctuary. It is time to take them up on that offer." Some of her staff protested. The Council had forbidden contact with humans. Going to them would be seen as treason. "The Council is dying," Yelnara said bluntly. "In a few months there will be no Council left to call us traitors. I would rather be a living traitor than a dead loyalist." She used the coordinates Paul had given her and sent a message toward human space. The message was simple. "This is Ambassador Yelnara of the Solari. We were wrong. You were right. We are coming to you. Please help us." For 3 days there was no response. Yelnara began to fear that the humans would not answer, that they would let the Council face the consequences of their choices. Then a message came back. It was from Commander Lisa Grant. "Ambassador Yelnara, your message has been received. Bring your people to the coordinates attached to this message. You will find sanctuary there. Humanity does not abandon its friends." Yelnara felt tears run down her face. She looked at her assistant and said, "Start the evacuation. We are going to human space." As Solari ships began their journey toward safety, the devourers continued their advance. They had consumed 40% of council space. They showed no signs of stopping, and in the council chambers, Vexthal and Mordan still refused to admit they needed help. They still refused to contact the humans. They still believed their pride was more important than survival. But deep down in the parts of themselves they did not want to acknowledge. They knew the truth. They had made a terrible mistake, and now billions were paying the price for their arrogance. The emergency council session was chaos. Representatives shouted at each other. Some accused others of incompetence. Some simply wept for their lost worlds. The devourers had consumed half of council space. Trillions were dead. The remaining fleets were scattered and broken. High Speaker Mordan stood at the center of the chamber. He looked older now. The proud feathers that had once gleamed now looked dull and lifeless. "We must face the truth," he said, his voice barely carrying over the noise. "We cannot defeat the devourers alone." "Then what do you suggest?" Councillor Vexthal demanded. His voice was angry, but there was fear underneath. "We have used every weapon. We have tried every tactic. Nothing works. We must contact the humans," Mordan said quietly. The chamber fell silent. For a long moment no one spoke. "No," Vexthal said. "I will not beg the warmongers for help. I will not give them the satisfaction of being right." "Satisfaction?" Overseer Kryn's voice was hard. "My entire fleet is gone. My homeworld is evacuated. Billions of my people are dead. And you care about satisfaction?" "This is exactly what the humans wanted," Vexthal insisted. "They created this situation to make themselves look like heroes. If we ask for their help, we are playing into their plans." Chancellor Thien's tank bubbled with agitation. "The humans did not create the devourers. The humans tried to warn us. We chose not to listen. Every death since then is our responsibility." Vexthal looked around the chamber for support. He found none. Even those who had stood with him before now looked away. "Very well," he said finally. "Send a delegation to human space. But I will not go. I will not humiliate myself before them." "I will go," Mordan said. "This disaster happened because of my pride. I will be the one to admit we were wrong." The delegation was assembled quickly. High Speaker Mordan, Councillor Vexthal, who changed his mind at the last moment, Overseer Kryn, and Chancellor Thien. They were the most powerful members of the council. If anyone could convince the humans to help, it would be them. The journey to human space took 2 weeks. The delegates had time to think about what they would say, what they could offer, what they could promise. Vexthal spent most of the journey trying to compose speeches that would make the humans look like the bad ones if they refused to help. Mordan told him to stop. "We are going to ask for mercy," Mordan said, "not to play political games. Our people are dying. Our pride no longer matters." As they approached the border of former human territory, their sensors detected massive structures, defense platforms, weapon stations, shield generators, all built in the months since humanity had withdrawn from council space. They were preparing, Kryn said with respect in his voice. While we celebrated driving them away, they were building these defenses. A human patrol ship intercepted them. It was small but heavily armed. Commander Lisa Grant's face appeared on their communication screen. "Council delegates," she said. Her voice was neutral. Not hostile, but not welcoming either. "State your purpose." Mordan stepped forward. "We come to request an audience with Ambassador Kevin Price. We need help." Lisa studied them for a long moment. "Follow my ship. Do not deviate from the flight path. Our defenses are active." They followed her deeper into human territory. What they saw amazed them. Entire fleets were staged in organized formations. Supply depots filled with weapons and ammunition. Medical stations ready to treat casualties. Training facilities where human soldiers practiced fighting techniques. "They have been preparing for war," Thien said quietly. "Real war. Not the small skirmishes the Council usually fights." "Because humans understand war," Kryn said. "Because they come from a death world where everything is trying to kill them. They know how to fight for survival." They were brought to a massive station. Hundreds of warships were docked there. The delegates could see crews loading supplies, running drills, checking weapon systems. Everything moved with military precision. Ambassador Kevin Price met them in a conference room. He looked the same as he had 6 months ago. calm, professional. But there was something in his eyes, sadness maybe, or disappointment. Captain Daniel Hayes stood beside him. Commander Lisa Grant was there too, along with Lieutenant Paul Sanders and Dr. Amy Clark. "Honorable delegates," Kevin said. "Please sit." They sat. For a moment, no one spoke. Finally, Mordan broke the silence. "Ambassador Price, we were wrong. The devourers are real. They are destroying our civilization. We need your help." "Why should we help you?" Daniel asked. His voice was not angry, just tired. 6 months ago we warned you this would happen. You called us warmongers. You laughed at us. You ordered us to dismantle our defenses. Why should we risk human lives for people who treated us like the enemy? Vexthal started to speak, but Mordan held up a hand to stop him. "You should not help us," Mordan said quietly. "We do not deserve your help. We mocked your warnings. We insulted your honor. We endangered the entire galaxy with our pride and stupidity. If you refuse, we will understand. We will face the devourers alone and accept our fate." Kevin looked at the old Krillian. But I am not asking you to save the Council," Mordan said. "I am asking you to save the innocents. The children who did not make these decisions. The civilians who trusted their leaders to protect them. The billions who are dying because we were too proud to listen. They do not deserve to be punished for our mistakes." Daniel showed them tactical displays of the Devourer advance. The situation was worse than the delegates had realized. The Devourers were accelerating. At their current rate, they would consume all remaining Council space within 3 months. "We have been studying them," Daniel said. "For 6 months we have been analyzing their tactics, their biology, their weaknesses. We think we can stop them. But it will cost us. Many humans will die in this fight. We offer you everything," Chancellor Theon said desperately. "Territory, resources, political power. Name your price." "We do not want your territory," Kevin said. "We do not need your resources. We do not care about political power." "Then what do you want?" Vexthal demanded. Kevin looked at each delegate in turn. We want you to remember that being prepared for war does not make you a warmonger. We want you to remember that warnings should be heard, not dismissed. We want you to remember that pride kills just as surely as any weapon." "We will remember," Mordan said. "I swear on the souls of my ancestors we will never forget this lesson." Kevin was quiet for a long moment. Then he looked at Daniel and nodded. Daniel activated a communication device. "All units, this is Captain Hayes. Execute Operation Salvation. We are going to war." Across human space, fleets began moving. Hundreds of ships. Thousands of soldiers. All heading toward Council space. All heading toward the Devourers. "You are helping us," Theon said, disbelief in his voice. "Even after everything we did." "We are not doing this for you," Kevin said. "We are doing this because it is right. Because the innocent should not suffer for the guilty. Because that is what it means to be human." Dr. Amy Clark stepped forward. "I need the medical records for all species in Council space. We are going to have casualties. I need to know how to treat everyone." "I will get you everything you need," Theon promised. Paul Sanders brought up a star map. "We need to coordinate with your remaining fleets. We cannot win this alone. You will need to fight alongside us." "We will fight," Kryn said. "Whatever you need from us, you will have it." As the delegates watched the human fleets prepare for battle, they finally understood what they had been too blind to see before. Humanity had not been preparing for conquest. They had been preparing to protect. Not just themselves, but everyone. "Why?" Vexthal asked quietly. "Why would you save people who treated you so poorly?" Kevin looked at him. "Because someone has to. Because if we only helped people who deserved it, we would be no better than the Devourers. We protect those who cannot protect themselves, even when they hate us for it. Especially when they hate us for it." The war was about to begin. The human fleet entered Council space like a storm. 300 warships moved in perfect formation. Each ship was loaded with weapons designed specifically to fight the Devourers. Each crew had trained for months on tactics that would work against an adaptive enemy. Captain Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge of his flagship. Around him, displays showed the positions of both human and Council forces. The Devourers were advancing on 3 major fronts. Daniel's job was to stop them. "All ships, this is Hayes. Remember your training. The Devourers adapt fast. Do not use the same tactic twice in a row. Keep them guessing. Keep them off balance." The first battle happened at a system called Meridian 5. The devourers were attacking a refugee convoy trying to escape to safer territory. Daniel's fleet jumped in just as the devourer ships began their assault. The human ships opened fire with kinetic weapons, solid metal slugs traveling at incredible speeds. The devourers' shields could absorb energy, but kinetic weapons hit differently. Several devourer ships were destroyed in the first volley, but the devourers adapted. Their ships began generating magnetic fields to deflect the metal slugs. Daniel had expected this. "Switch to plasma torpedoes," he ordered. The human ships changed weapons. Superheated plasma tore through devourer hulls. More enemy ships died. The devourers tried to close the distance. They wanted to board the human ships and consume the crews. But Daniel had studied their tactics. He knew they would try this. All ships reverse thrust. Maintain distance. Do not let them get close. The human fleet backed away while continuing to fire. The devourers pursued, but they could not catch the faster human ships. After 2 hours of fighting, the devourer force was destroyed. The refugee convoy was saved. But the victory cost. 12 human ships were damaged. 3 were destroyed. 200 human soldiers were dead. Daniel looked at the casualty reports and felt the weight of command. These people had died protecting species that had mocked humanity months ago, but they had died doing the right thing. Commander Lisa Grant was fighting on a different front. Her smaller fleet was defending a Pelorian colony world. The planet held 3 million civilians who could not evacuate in time. The devourers landed on the planet's surface. Their ground forces began consuming everything in sight. Lisa ordered her ships to provide orbital support, while Council ground forces tried to hold them back. It was not enough. The devourers were pushing through the defensive lines. "We need to go down there," Lisa said to her tactical officer. "Commander, if we land troops, we might not get them back. The devourers will overrun that position. Then we will die defending it," Lisa said. "I did not come here to watch from orbit." Human soldiers dropped onto the planet. They wore heavy armor and carried weapons designed for close combat. They fought alongside Dulthak warriors and Zentari soldiers. Species that had never worked together before now fought side by side. The battle was brutal. The devourers were strong and fast. Their claws could tear through armor. Their teeth could bite through metal. But humans had something the devourers did not expect: persistence. When a human soldier was knocked down, they got back up. When their weapons ran empty, they used knives. When their armor was breached, they kept fighting. They did not retreat. They did not surrender. They held the line. Lieutenant Paul Sanders coordinated with Council intelligence officers. Together, they identified patterns in how the devourers attacked. They found weak points in the enemy formation. They shared this information with all Allied forces. The devourers focus on the strongest targets first, Paul explained to a Krillian commander. They ignore weaker forces. Use that. Put your strongest ships in front to draw their attention. Then have your lighter ships attack from the sides. The tactic worked. Council forces began scoring more victories. They were learning how to fight. Learning from the humans. Dr. Amy Clark worked in medical ships that followed behind the fleet. She treated wounded soldiers from dozens of different species. Her human medical staff worked alongside Solari healers and Pelorian doctors. They saved thousands of lives. A wounded Zentari soldier was brought to her. He had fought alongside human troops on the ground. His exoskeleton was cracked. He was dying. "Why do you save me?" he asked Amy as she worked to stabilize him. "My counselor called your people warmongers. He said you were the enemy." "Your counselor was wrong," Amy said simply. "You are not my enemy. You are my patient, and I will not let you die if I can help it." The soldier survived. When he recovered enough to return to his unit, he told his comrades what the human doctor had said. The story spread through the Council forces. Humans were not warmongers. They were protectors. The war lasted 3 months. 3 months of constant fighting. 3 months of brutal battles and heavy losses. But slowly the tide turned. The devourers could adapt to any single tactic. But they could not adapt to humans' constantly changing tactics while also coordinating with dozens of other species. The combined forces found ways to hurt the enemy, to slow their advance, to push them back. Ambassador Yelnara fought alongside the humans. Her people were not warriors, but they could heal. Solari medical ships saved countless lives. Yelnara personally treated both human and council wounded. She saw the cost of the war up close. One day she found Captain Daniel Hayes alone after a particularly brutal battle. He was looking at casualty reports. His shoulders were slumped. "Are you all right?" Yelnara asked. 5,000 humans have died in this war, Daniel said quietly. 5,000 people who did not need to die. If the Council had listened 6 months ago, we could have evacuated everyone. We could have prepared together. These deaths were preventable. "You are angry with us," Yelnara said. "No," Daniel said, looking up at her. "I am sad for us. For all of us. War should always be the last option, but sometimes it is the only option left." The final battle happened at the edge of Council space. The remaining Devourer forces had gathered for one massive push. Every available ship from both human and Council forces met them there. It was the largest space battle in galactic history. Thousands of ships, millions of soldiers. The fighting lasted for 3 days without pause. When it was over, the Devourers were defeated. Their ships were destroyed. Their ground forces were eliminated. The invasion was stopped, but the cost was terrible. 10,000 human soldiers were dead. 50,000 Council soldiers were dead. Hundreds of ships were destroyed. Entire fleets were crippled. The survivors gathered at Council Station to discuss what would happen next. Half of Council space was destroyed. Trillions were dead or displaced. The work of rebuilding would take decades. Ambassador Kevin Price stood before the assembled Council. The chamber was much emptier now. Many species had lost their representatives in the war. "Humanity did not want this war," Kevin said. "We tried to prevent it, we failed. But we also tried to end it. In that we succeeded. The question now is what happens next." High Speaker Mordan stood. He looked even older than before. The war had taken everything from him. His homeworld was gone. Most of his people were dead. But he still had his honor. "Humanity saved us," he said. "When we deserved nothing, you gave us everything. How can we ever repay this debt?" "You can remember," Kevin said. "Remember that warnings should be heeded. Remember that being prepared for war prevents war. Remember that different perspectives have value. Remember that pride is not worth more than lives." Councillor Vexthal, who had been quiet throughout the meeting, finally spoke. "We were wrong about you. About everything. We thought you were warmongers because you prepared for war, but you prepared for war so you could protect peace. We did not understand the difference." "Many species do not understand until it is too late," Daniel said. "Humanity learned this lesson the hard way on Earth. We hoped to spare you the same pain. We could not. But perhaps others can learn from both our mistakes and yours." The Council voted to form a new alliance. Humanity would serve as military protectors. Council species would contribute resources and knowledge. Together they would rebuild what was lost and prepare for future threats. Ambassador Yelnara approached Kevin and Daniel after the vote. "Thank you," she said simply, "for not abandoning us, for saving us even when we did not deserve it." "That is what it means to be human," Kevin said. "We protect those who cannot protect themselves, even when they hate us for it, especially when they hate us for it." Later, Commander Lisa Grant and Dr. Amy Clark stood together on an observation deck. They looked out at the ships from dozens of species. Human vessels worked alongside Council ships to repair damage and distribute supplies. "Do you think they learned?" Amy asked. "Some of them," Lisa said. "Maybe enough of them. Time will tell, and if they forget, then we will remind them, again and again, as many times as it takes." Below them, human and alien crews worked side by side, building something new from the ashes of the old, building something stronger, something that could face whatever threats came next. The war was over. The rebuilding had begun, and quietly, without boasting or demanding gratitude, humanity had changed the galaxy forever.